Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Motivation. I'm your host, Daniel Krakowski, joined, as always, by the man himself, the legend, Goran Vasovic.
What's going on, Daniel? Thank you for coming in on a Sunday, midday Sunday, rainy, dreary day.
Right after the gym, yep.
Right after the gym. I just came from the airport, and the first thing is, let's get in the studio and give the people what they want.
They want some motivation.
Monday motivation. And we actually have a special guest.
Special guest, Maggie Coble. What's up, Maggie?
Not a lot. How's it going, guys?
What's going on? Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. So we've known you, obviously. You work at VSM. You're an agent here for the time being. Going to definitely help do some assisting work with me in the future. But what's new with you? Any changes in your life come up?
Yeah, I just recently quit my job to go pursue my passions of going into event marketing.
What?
Yeah.
Event marketing. I think we just had someone in here speaking about that. I can't remember her name.
MBM Hartley.
That's the
Chamberlain, event marketer.
Is that where you're going?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was it the brief podcast that we did, the Monday Motivation with her, to kind of tip?
Yeah, that's where I got the connection with her through Daniel, and just met up, hit it off, and now we're going to be off and running on June 1st.
That's awesome. Well, do you want to speak to a little bit about the motivation that you needed to do in order to make the switch or leave, quote unquote, a stable job that you weren't really, happy, or that wasn't your passion? How did you do it? Because so many people every single day suffer from that.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. It was a lot of just like building up the courage to just take that next step. There were a lot of support of Daniel and my friends. Just kind of decided to take the leap one day, decided to go in and call it quits and explain to my boss that I had to go pursue other passions. And yeah, she was pretty supportive, and now we're going to be off and running.
That's always really good. What were some of the top fears that you had, like top 3?
Well, rejection is always one of them. It's hard
Rejection of going into your new venture?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, it's hard to go back into the interview process and get the ball rolling on that, have people say no, have the door closed on you a few times. But if you can make the one good connection, that's all you need.
No doubt. So that's number 1.
Yes.
Two more fears.
Oh, 2 more fears. Burning a bridge with your former boss.
Ooh,
I mean, that's a big one.
That's a good one.
I'm big on loyalty, so it was hard for me to go in and tell her. But, as long as you can explain that you have to move on and that it's best for you, they're usually pretty understanding, and they want what's best for you too.
Number 3.
Money. Yeah, that's always a hard one. Yeah, I mean, I was in a pretty good financial...
Money/bills.
Yes. Yeah. I was in a pretty good financial situation at my last job, and it's hard to, potentially take a pay cut. But if you're doing what you love, it's all that matters.
Right. Money should never be kind of an obstacle between you and your dreams. At least I don't think so.
I agree. So you were in this position, you were working a good, stable job, just in a profession in an industry that wasn't necessarily what you had originally hoped to do. What did it take? I mean, how long were you thinking about making this decision? And what really prevented you from pulling the trigger?
I think the number one thing was just fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of being rejected by my coworkers and boss. That was probably just the number one. I just didn't know what kind of reaction I would get from my family and coworkers, and I don't know. Just took me a really long time to get the confidence built up to pull the trigger.
Right, and again, those are all valid concerns, and I think majority of people that are going to work, right now, Monday through Friday, want to be able to do this, what you did and take away the fear. Do you have any kind of recommendations as far as how can somebody gear up mentally to take the leap and actually follow their passion and pursue their dreams, whatever they may be?
Yeah, I just pumped myself up. I was in my office and I knew I had to go in and do it. And I just did a few Rocky punches and jumped up and down.
What, in the mirror?
And yeah, kind of. And
You had Danielle's picture in the mirror.
I did.
Crushed it. I got this.
But seriously, I just thought back to everybody in my life that has made the leap and gone and done something that they loved and just used that to amp me up to go in and do it. And it was just a big burst of adrenaline and just pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at your career, there's a little bit of value in kind of forecasting and predicting the future a little bit. And I think that a lot of times we know before. So I'd say in your example, you probably knew 6 months before you actually went in and had that conversation that was the direction that you wanted to go with your life. So really taking that candid look at, okay, this is what I'm being provided with right here. Here are the potential opportunities, and looking at where that tree splits off, where the flow chart of places that your life can go through that organization take you, and really be honest with yourself to see if any of those outcomes are ones that you're actually looking for. And if not, what you did, I think, is pretty wise, where you created a problem for yourself in a sense and went in and gave your resignation before you had found your next job.
Yeah, that was tough.
A lot of times, especially if you're working in corporate America, if you're working
No one recommends that.
No one. And everybody was like, you're an idiot. Why did you do that?
No one recommends it. No one thinks it's ever going to work out.
But it was the best thing I did.
It's kind of the factory worker mentality that so many of us have that I think is inherent in our education system, where the whole Bell system in high school that we're also familiar with is actually remnants of training factory workers in the 1800s in Chicago. So we have this mindset of general stability that we're trying to get. So we lack generally the courage to go make that big leap and believe in ourselves to do that.
The crazy thing is, again, I call that a false sense of security. Anyone that has a regular corporate job or, a quote-unquote W-2 paycheck, nothing is 100%. And the way I thought about it in my, career in corporate America is that I didn't want to be influenced. I didn't want my future to be dependent on somebody else making the decision, because corporations can downsize at any moment in time.
Yeah.
And then you're left on your own. So that was my motivation when I had left my corporate job to do what I do now, is really just wanting to be in control of my own future, my own destiny, and also do what I love.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that idea of looking to the future and trying to understand the paths that, all these branches can go off into and when you look at a computer program, right, and a computer program that plays chess, that plays any skill strategy game, all that computer really does is it analyzes every single move. If I make this move, then you could make this one, right? And it goes down the decision tree that exists for every move and tries to factor in as many of them as it can. And because of that, it's actually a pretty skillful chess player. If you can do that with your professional career, you're going to have a much better result than if you're just going into it with some expectation versus going into it and literally saying, I now work with VSM. At VSM, I have the opportunity to do investing. I have the opportunity to do brokerage. I have the opportunity to do operations, administrative work. From that, I could potentially, on the investment side, do some flips myself. Right? You really go down that path and see if where it could take you is where you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're starting to do, and what you're doing with MDM Hartley, who's a fantastic entrepreneur herself, and that's going to be really great for you.
Yeah. I think.
Do you feel a certain sense of, well, not only relief, but empowerment now that...
Yeah. I mean, Daniel knows this. Hardest decision I've ever made in my life. I mean, it was hard. I mean, there's family obviously involved and working for your stepmom. And I'd worked there for about 6 years, part-time for 4 years. Yeah. So it was a really big
that's a long
decision and it was really, really hard. But I mean, it was the biggest relief to just finally get it off my chest, have everybody kind of know like where I'm at in life, what I want to do. And I just feel like I can conquer the world at this point. I feel like there's nothing stopping me. It's like once you do like that one big, like make that one big hard decision, the rest of it just seems easy.
Right, now you got the momentum on your
Yeah,
side. You just
definitely.
gotta keep going.
Do you think you'll ever be in a position again where you're in a job in an industry that you don't want to be in and you're not going to be able to make that decision to...
No. I mean, it's just like I said, you just have to do it once, and then it just doesn't seem like as hard
like
or
your
that
first
big of a
breakup,
deal.
isn't it?
It really was. It was like, yeah, it was like breaking up with like the first love of your life.
Yeah. The first one, you're crushed. You're destroyed.
Yep.
You know, and then the next 3, you know, whatever, however many, if you're Goran, you know, women are just coming out of the woodwork because he's such a beautiful man, so skilled, so talented. So we'd have to defer to his
I'm going to
judgment
go ahead
on
and just
that.
say, what?
I had to get him while he's on social
Yeah.
media there.
I don't even know what you're talking about. All right.
But nonetheless, I think that just that idea of really taking it from being in a position where all of your daily tasks are being handed down to you and you're being more dictated to, which is how most people work and operate who aren't self-employed, who aren't entrepreneurs, and really having that confidence to just take all your chips, slam them down on yourself and see what happens.
Yeah, and
You know, I don't really know anyone who hasn't been rewarded in some way for doing that yet. So
Yeah.
good on you.
I
Thanks.
think it's not just some, you know, monetary. Let's say tomorrow you take off and you make a bunch of money. That's great too. But I think the mental clarity that you gain. I remember when, again, I used to work at a corporate America, and my life was this routine, and I was always tired. I was always out of shape. It just takes a toll on you mentally. But then as soon as I kind of got free from that, the benefits, not just the financial, just far outweighed. Because the quality of
Yeah.
life was just so much better.
well, yeah, and at some point, like the money doesn't matter. Like if you're not happy, it doesn't really matter how much money you make. For
Right.
most people, if you're just, you know.
Would you
just
say that
gotta
you
move
came
on.
around to purpose over profit?
Yes, I did.
Nice. So I think, again, going back to a lot of people also that are stuck in a job that they don't really hate, but they don't really like.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of the road. That's going to be probably the toughest decision, because if you hate it, it's going to be a little bit easier to find something else and just go on your own because you just have that hate. But if on the other, end of that spectrum, if you really like it, it's even going to be, more hard. And I think for me, I was fortunate enough when I used to work at Thomson Reuters that I really did like my job.
Yeah.
It wasn't mentally draining. I liked my boss at the time. I liked my coworkers. But then it was not my passion. So when
Yeah.
I decided to make that leap and actually just go and be a full-time, real estate entrepreneur, and then having to sell all my things in order to make it work on my own, it was still, I'm like, should I leave a high, salary job with quote unquote security, a 401k,
Benefits, yeah.
benefits, and just sell everything I have and start this, real estate venture? So that was, again, it was hard. I could have just stayed and just did all
Yeah.
right. But I think the middle of the road position is kind of where I see where it's
Yeah.
just like, this is okay. I'll just go
Right.
from Monday to Friday. Look forward to my Friday.
It
take
was
advantage of my
really
weekend.
easy to just like go day to day. Like most days were pretty good. Some days not so much. But I didn't have like a burning hatred towards my job or the people that I worked with. It was just like, this is just not what I want to do. And after 2 years, you have to reevaluate, okay, if either I'm going to be committed to this job and really commit myself and then figure out how to like work up the ladder, or I'm going to move on. And I just decided that it was time for me to move on.
Right.
Yeah, and you did some soul searching, and
Yeah.
you were honest
Yeah, I
and real
didn't
with yourself.
Right. You can't, I mean, you probably shouldn't make the decision like in one day. Take some time, evaluate what you're doing.
Because I the first instinct is like, if you ask them about like, do you like your job? They're like, oh no, I don't. Well, what else are you passionate about? And then they don't have an answer.
Right.
So then they quit, and then they don't do anything because
that's when people flounder and they
they don't know what they
don't know
want.
what to do.
So
Yeah.
figure out what you want, figure
Right.
out who you are, what makes you happy, and then take the necessary steps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would sometimes give the opposite advice and say,
Really?
just force yourself into a position where you have to make a decision and make something happen for yourself, and
Well, I guess that's kind
Force
of what
the
I did
change.
when I didn't have a job before I quit. It like forced my hand to like figure it out really fast. Like
Yep.
I had 6 weeks to figure out how to get a job just based off the skills that I had. Like who could I talk to? Who would sit down and have like an informational meeting with me?
yeah,
And
and everyone's going to be different. If you have an engineer's mindset, you're going to have a really hard time just winging it.
Right.
You want to understand everything, but I think a lot of times when you're in that kind of good enough culture, that good enough corporate culture where it's good enough for you to stay, you need to just remove that, the security, again, as Gordon would quote unquote, that exists is
false sense of
addictive.
security, yeah.
Right. So
Plus, good enough is not. It's just not good. Come on,
I
it's
know.
like don't settle for good enough. Why? This is not like your first of 100 lives. Just go ahead and
Right.
go all out and
Right.
take a chance.
I think we as human beings are designed to struggle, to have a lot of very difficult problems. And as we've advanced societally, our problems get less and less and less and less. And that's why we see people be less and less and less happy.
And plus,
There's some biological reward system to
Yeah.
overcoming adversity. And if you're not putting yourself in those positions ever, that comfort zone, you're just always going to be in that same feeling of no accomplishment, unfulfillment. So what you did, congratulations.
thank you.
Super happy for you.
Thanks.
yeah, congrats. I'm gonna.
Woo!
Applause on the podcast. Awesome. Well, that was Monday Motivation for this week. Maggie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having
Goran,
me.
thanks for being here,
Yeah.
as always,
Yeah, thanks guys for stopping by on a Sunday.
on a Sunday.
On a Sunday.
And we'll see everybody else next week.